Hey people. Okay. I'd like to talk about something that I've seen in lots of spiritual communities and in therapy sessions between subject and therapist, and between even relationships with friends. And it's something that's very insidious and very unbalanced. And I say that it's insidious not because it exists, that the fact that this exists and this happens is fine, but it's insidious because it can destroy something really good. It can destroy the potential of a space for amazing growth and joy and evolution in consciousness and more happiness in our life. And it's very powerful. I've seen it like creeping into all sorts of different dynamics in people's lives. And I say this because I have lots of friends who are therapists, who work on one-on-ones or who do group therapy. I have people I know who are in the position of being masters, guru-like teachers, teaching spirituality. So what I see happening, and it bothers me, like I said, not because it exists, but it bothers me. What bothers me is the fact that we don't realize this pattern, so we keep repeating it through our lives, and before we know it, we might have ruined the potential of wonderful relationships with others because of this. And I've pinpointed it. I think it's I call it a neurosis. So if we have as a basis a semi-neurotic relationship with ourselves, when we meet someone in our life who we are inspired by because they represent something that we want, or they represent someone being in a place that we want to be in, so we're inspired by that person. We want to follow them, we want to emulate them, we want to follow their directions, we want to participate in what they're offering, we want to participate in what they're giving, we want to be part of their ideas, we want to be part of their plans because, oh my God, I feel like that and that's what I want. And we only want something if we already are it, in a sense. So we just want to actualize it in our life here on earth physically. We want that to appear, manifest physically. So that's the person that I'm inspired by. So I want to, in a way, be more like them so that I can be more like myself. And they represent a path to that. You know what I mean? So what I've seen is in, for example, I've seen this in Buddhist Dharma centers numerous times, and I can see it happening. Like the moment it's born, I can see it happening in somebody's mind. They develop a relationship with the Lama, with the Guru, and it's so obsessed just with that person and not so much with what they're teaching and what they're offering and what they're saying, that they transform that relationship to that Lama into a neurotic relationship. So the moment that Guru doesn't respond the way they want to, or the way they were excited to in the first moments of their relationship, then they turn that relationship into something negative. They toxify it from the inside. So they take that perfect potential of a relationship, and instead of looking at it from the outside, they let it mix up with their own neurosis. So it goes into the bag of their own neurosis. And then the relationship is destroyed, which is fine. You know, relationships come and go. We don't make friends forever, the same friends for all our lives. But what we miss then is our higher self guided us to that person, to that teacher, to that psychologist, to that friend, whatever it may be, so that we could learn something specific about us to be happier, to be a better person. But we don't have the space to separate our neurosis from the gift that that person is giving us. So we poison that relationship and then we discard it. And even worse, we get to hate that person. We get to point our finger at that person and go, that is not a good teacher because they did this, 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 and that. Or in other words, we're subjecting them to a load, a responsibility towards us that they could never comply with. Never comply with, because they're their own person, they have their own life. And even if all their intentions toward us are perfect and good and wonderful and free, and they only have our best interest in their mind, our neurosis and our lack of confidence and our lack of treatment of our own emotional body, of our own psychotic problems, our lack of looking into that will make it that we make that person responsible for everything. And we will destroy that relationship. And we'll destroy relationships with teachers, with gurus in religious context. We'll destroy relationships with friends. We'll destroy relationships with intimate romantic relationships because of that. We just throw everything into our little neurotic box. And it's very sad, or not sad, I mean, it's whatever, you know, people do whatever they want with their life, but I think it's not sad, I don't think it's sad, but it's definitely missing a great opportunity to not be aware of that. And it's really dumb to repeat that over and over and over and over and over again in our lives, you know, constantly repeating that with every person that we come in contact with that inspires us. So why, for example, why do you think people get inspired by rock stars or spiritual teachers or celebrities that they never meet, that they never have an intimate relationship with, that they never have a conversation with, that they never have time enough together to see that relationship change and see the other for the being that he is and you the being that you are, and all that comes in between you as you create something new? People get attached to those distant fantasies because it allows them to remain neurotic with themselves and put that relationship in a pedestal as something perfect, you know, like, oh, that is perfect. But actually, if we came in contact with that person and we got together, how long is the question that we should ask? How long would you have before you destroyed that relationship? Really, I think that's a good question to ask. Like, how long do I have before I completely fuck this up and it's discarded and thrown away, and all the potential jewels that you saw being born when you met and when you came into contact with that person, all that excitement and those jewels and that light and the potential, remember all that? It's like that falling in love stage. We just throw it all into the garbage because we have zero maturity to sail through a relationship with someone like that in a way that we can keep it and that we can grow from it. The minute we see something reflected back, that reflects back to us, our lack of contact with ourselves, we point the finger and say, oh, yeah, that's not good, that's not for me. Oh, so actually everything that happened in the past is also not for me. So we throw everything away. So I've seen this happening a lot, and I see it happening today. I think there's a lack of self-responsibility, definitely, in ourselves, being self-responsible for taking care of our emotions. There's a lack of clarity with ourselves, a lack of a practice of being clear with ourselves, and also being very comfortable with repeating patterns under the guise of, yeah, that's who I am, and what I think about this experience is the absolute truth, and this is how things are, so this is garbage, throw it away. And it's a very poor relationship with your inner self that is always guiding you towards more of yourself, and more of what you want, and more light and more joy and more wisdom. And with wisdom comes having to break open doors that don't necessarily want to break open, and they're hard to break them open. So when you come across those doors, what a lot of people do is they stop, and then they blame the door. They yell at the door and say, this door is ugly, this door is uncomfortable, this knob is hot, I don't like this door, and then they leave. But the door is there for you to pass through. So since we're a highly psychologized society, a highly anxious and neurotic group of people, especially in developed countries, that is the door where we stop. And we give allegiance to our neurosis, we give our allegiance to our anxiety, instead of releasing that allegiance so that the neurosis can be released. And then you can truly grow in a relationship with a teacher, with a master, with a guru, with a friend, with your romantic couple, with your psychologist, with your therapist, with your Reiki master, whoever it is that's pushing you. Because if someone isn't showing you things that you're uncomfortable about, then you're never putting yourself in a situation that's going to accelerate your growth. And we're spoiled. Our culture is very spoiled. The minute something's uncomfortable, we back off and blame it and put the sticker of our truthfulness on it. This is my truth. This is what this is. So these dynamics are very subtle, but very easy to think that what we think is right about the situation. That's what I wanted to say.